Welcome to Sexy in Your 60s. This is a space for women 50 and beyond who are choosing to live with vitality, intention, and joy in this chapter of life and the ones ahead of us. I'm your host, Dvora Citron, registered nurse, National Board Certified Health and Wellbeing Coach, and Plant Strong Advocate. On this podcast, we explore what truly helps women thrive in midlife and beyond through evidence-based health insights, real stories, practical strategies, and the deeper sense of meaning that makes life feel rich and connected. I intentionally chose the title, Sexy in Your 60s. When I use the word sexy, I'm not talking about sexuality or how we're seen. I'm talking about energy, confidence, presence, curiosity, purpose. Sexy is how you feel in your body. Sexy is how you move through the world. Sexy is knowing who you are and choosing how you want to show up. I believe this stage of life isn't about winding down. It's about waking up. Not in your 60s? You're still invited to join us. Each episode is designed to support you not just in how you live, but in how you feel in your body, your relationships, and your life. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Welcome back to Sexy in Your 60s. Today's guest is Annette Naif, founder and creator of Naif Productions. Annette has spent decades creating experiences that help people mark the moments that matter, from weddings and milestone celebrations to corporate and nonprofit events. Before launching her own company, she worked in film and television production, and that producer's precision still shapes everything she does today. As I've been navigating my own reinvention after a 40-year career in nursing, I've been challenging myself to reach beyond what's familiar, to make new connections, and to stay curious and open. In fact, I decided to reach out to Annette after we were both in a podcaster Zoom together, and I just was very attracted to her spark. Meeting Annette is definitely part of the journey for me. I was immediately drawn to the way her work touches not just events, but identity, self-worth, connection, and meaning. All things we care deeply about here. Annette, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to talk.
Part of what I'm so curious about, and I love that women can tell their stories, is at this age in our lives, when we go back and we look at what did our prior experiences teach us,
Right.
and how can we bring the value of that into what we're doing now and how we're enjoying what we're doing now. You started in film and television production, right?
Yes.
Tell us what the world was like and what did it give you working in that area that still shows up in your work and your life today?
Gosh, I started in film and television. I was super young. So it's been like 40 years or more. It was in the late 80s, early 90s. So it was a little different world than it is now with all the things that are going on. But it just taught me leadership. It really helped me learn how to manage my team. The leadership that I needed to run the business didn't teach me how to run the business, but neither did college, but that's a whole nother story. It taught me the leadership that I needed because when I first started, I worked for Sebastian, which is the hair product company. They were always trying to cut and color my hair, which I would never let
And your
them.
hair is gorgeous.
And it's all mine. I never let them touch it. But it's
beautiful.
ironic that I worked for a hair company and it was super long and it was crazy big. Back in those days, hair was like really big. I was in my 20s and I was managing a team of 10 people. I really jumped in. When I first got the job, I was just planning events my whole life. Basically, when I was in high school, I was bringing people together, organizing all the stuff. When I got the job, I really thought, oh gosh, I could get paid to do this. This is really great. I was in the show department and I would do events for Sebastian the hair product. And we did events all over the world. So it was really fun and exciting. I'm originally from Michigan. So I was living in LA. In LA, you work in the film industry. It's like the thing to do, obviously, because it's all over the place. Just because I had friends in it and they were like, you should come and get a job here. Someone offered me a job. I left after 5 years of being Sebastian and I went over into the film industry. I was production coordinating like film, TV series and pilots and movies and things like that. I worked a lot of legal. I was a legal assistant, almost like a paralegal, working contracts in the industry in between movies and things that I would do. So I moved around. That was the thing. You didn't hold a job for years and years. You moved around in the industry. That was just something that we did. So I was learning legal. I was learning how to do contracts and things like that, which has become like such a staple in what I do right now. I didn't know at the time that those things that I was learning at the time was going to be such a big thing in running my business. But see, you just never know where it's going to take you and what's going to be an advantage in your life down the road.
I interviewed this woman, Casey Sassner. She basically stayed home while she was raising her kids. She did a lot of leadership work. She developed a lot of skills. She was in corporate advertising before that. She went back to school and got her master's degree in counseling, and she just has such a rich skill bank. I think that's what you were doing all along.
I didn't go to college until I was 37. While I was working full time, I then moved to New York. I've been in New York 26 years now. I was in LA for 17 years. And then I moved to New York. I was tired of LA, that whole rat race, but it was fun for the times. The stories, I could write a book, let me tell you. But I moved to New York, so I thought that was more exciting. And I didn't have a degree at the time, and I still hadn't started my business. And I thought, I can't get anywhere because everyone had a degree. I was working legal. I was doing contracts for entertainment law. I worked for the managing partner in a firm, and it was a big job, but it was great. But I didn't have a degree, so I couldn't get anywhere. So I decided to go back to school or go to school when I was 37. It took me about 7 years to finish. And as soon as I finished, the economy crashed. It was 2008-9. And I decided to start my own business. I was still working a job where I could do it. I went to school basically through working that job. It was a blessing. And at 47, I started my business, and it's been 16 years now. So it's never too late to start, because believe me, you're going to age and time's going to pass. And before you know it, you have a business for 16 years. So it's crazy.
Wow, you have such an exciting history, really. Another thing we have in common, it took me 7 years to get my first degree too.
Yeah.
5 years to get my second one. If it's what you want to do and it fits into your values and what your goals are, you make it work.
Well, ironically, I never needed the degree because I started my business, but it really taught me great critical thinking. It didn't teach me how to run the business. I got a business management degree, but it didn't teach me how to run the business. But I still learned a lot. It was really good for me to have it. And it's nice to say that I have a degree, like, big deal.
So tell me more about the fact that you left that whole entertainment world and you went out and started your own business. Talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. I think that stemmed from, I was working this corporate job for a real estate company. I was the director of operations, and I was doing all of their events. They were a family of 6. They had 4 kids, and I was doing all their events. And they also were big in the art industry. So we'd host a lot of events in their big office. They owned the 1500 Broadway building, which is where Good Morning America is. City in Times Square. So it's a well-known building. I worked for the owner of the building. I was basically his right hand, but he was never there. He lived in London. So that's how I did my schoolwork.
And it wasn't remote communication then?
Oh, no. That was 2007. Oh, gosh, it had to be earlier than that. Maybe 2005, 2000. Yeah, something like that. Time goes by so fast. So I was there about 5 years, 7 years, something like that. But I decided, because I could see everyone around, all the men around me getting promoted, and I could have easily been running all of the companies that were inside the building. I could have managed all of that. I could have had a position and not just been like doing HR and his chief of staff. Like, I just couldn't get any further than that, than being like the owner's assistant. While I made great money, I had my own driver. I had a cushy job. Like, it was great. I had my own office overlooking Times Square, but I wasn't satisfied. I was really bored with the job, and I couldn't get any advancement. They weren't going to promote me. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to start my own business. I had a legal background. I knew how to start the website, get my legal stuff in place. And that's what I did. I started the business. And before I knew it, I just started telling everybody that I'm doing this business. And I started getting clients. And then they laid me off 3 months after I had gotten the business set up in my office with the door closed. Nobody knew. They laid me off, and it was such a blessing.
So you had started your business after they laid you off, or there
No,
was an overlap?
no, it was an overlap. So I
Okay.
started the business because I was bored. I had time to do something. So I thought, I'm going to start a business. I didn't come from entrepreneurs in my family. No one was an entrepreneur. No one even went to college. So that was something I figured, let me start. I got business cards and I just started Googling, trying to figure it out myself. And they laid me off 3 months after I got the business going. And one thing I really learned in corporate America and in that job, the CFO of that company taught me how to negotiate, and he did an amazing job. So I have become really good at that with my clients now, is helping with their contracts and all of that. And so I negotiated a year severance package during that time. So he helped, but I went with like age and I did the whole thing. Like it was a bad time because the economy had just crashed. So how was I going to find a job? And I was 47 and what was I going to do? And I was a good employee. So the owner liked me. So he gave me a year severance pack. That helped keeping me calm through the process of starting my business. It did help.
Calm and confident.
Yeah. And I just hit the ground. I hit the ground. I went to every event. I networked like crazy. I just talked to everybody. I tried to get a coach to help me run the business. Like, how do I set it up? What legal documents do I need? And because I knew how to do events, I just didn't know what the business should look like. Nobody would hire me, which is why I coach now, because I want to help people do that. So
You may have encountered some gender bias and maybe even some age discrimination.
maybe you wouldn't think of it at that age, but yeah, it could
So,
have been. I
yeah,
think it was more being a female.
there's often tension for women being likable and being fully in charge. Sounds like you had experience in that area. How have you navigated those areas when you've been challenged?
Yeah, I just recognized it and then moved on. If I see that something's not going to happen for me at this position or with that person, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to move on. I'm going to do it myself. I basically did it myself. Growing up in my era, which I think we're probably around the same age, there weren't a lot of entrepreneurs. To be an entrepreneur was such a oh my gosh, they own their own business. I remember in my 20s thinking, wow, that's a big deal. Because, of course, I wish I had done this in my 20s. I would be way further along than I am now. But it is what it is. You do it when you're ready to do it, when it's ready. I always tell my clients, like my coaching clients, you're never too old because they're always nervous about where they're starting. I'm happy that I started at 47 because I can talk about my successful business. It can be done. But I think I just moved on. I just don't engage with that craziness.
My impression is that you had a very confident identity and you could easily identify, like you're saying, when, okay, I'm not going to waste my time with these people. I'm going to put myself somewhere where I can grow and expand.
Yeah. Confidence is everything. I even tell my coaching clients, the biggest piece of selling something, selling your services for your event is be confident because that's going to make them feel comfortable. Oh, she knows what she's doing. She knows. Even though if I really am like, oh my God, I'm going to die inside because I'm so nervous about this. But you just be confident and talk about it. You figure it out. That's the thing. I said yes to almost everything. I do. Now I don't so much because I can be choosier. But in the beginning, I said yes to everything. And if I didn't know, I figured it out. I eventually figured it out. I became very resourceful.
You were talking about valuing yourself. I think it sounds really fortunate to get that years long.
Yeah, that's unusual, but yes.
Yeah. Was there a point where you felt or realized that you were undercharging or undervaluing yourself? And when that happened, what did you do? Did you shift? How did that work for you?
Till this day, I remember. And I knew there's so much to pricing with events. There's a lot there and there's a lot to think about. And sometimes I feel like I still do underprice myself, to be honest, even though I'm 16 years in and I teach it. You sometimes wonder, could I've done more? That's just human nature, I think. But yes, I remember because I finally got a coach after about a year into this. I found someone who was starting a coaching program because there was none back in the day. And every planner who was successful, who was big, would not talk to me, which is crazy because
Because they felt like it was competition?
maybe, I don't know the answer. They just would not talk to me about it. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'd have to walk in their shoes, be with them 24 hours. There's no way that anybody can get clients from me unless they poach something like, and they're in the environment. It had happened. That happened once, and she was a friend, and I never spoke to her again. So that does happen, but it's unfortunate. And this was a very successful planner. But listen, integrity is everything. So what can I say? So I just moved myself away from that, right? But yes, the first time I realized was when I had a coach, which I think it's so important to have a coach. I've had many throughout the years. I still do. I took a sample from an event, one of my first events that I did on my own, and I priced it out, and we figured out I made a negative $57 an hour. I will never forget. And I was like, negative 57 an hour. You learn quickly not to do that. That's painful. So you just have to really learn. There's so many things. You have to learn how to manage your time. You have to manage the scope of the work. There's a lot that goes into this to make sure that you're making it and you're pricing yourself. There's a whole formula of figuring out how much do I need to make to live? How much do I want to make? Those sort of things.
What would you say to a woman who's really excellent at what she does, but she's still struggling to find her own value?
Oh gosh, such a good question. Honestly, community is everything. I surrounded myself with like-minded women or people. I networked a lot, and it just encouraged me to keep going. They would say, oh my God, Annette's amazing. And they would never even be at one of my events. They never saw my events, but your reputation is everything. Because I sounded confident in what I was doing and what I was talking about, they would refer me and say, she's amazing. They were never at any of my events. But I'll take it. You just have to jump in. Listen, I've had hard clients. I've had hard clients who I thought, oh my gosh, they blame you for something that it wasn't your fault. But that's just part of owning a business, and you have to deal with the good and the bad. There's more good, thank God. But just knowing your value is really through getting the support that you need. I surrounded myself by people who lifted me up and showed me what my value, helped me see that I was of value and that what I was doing was great and I was great at it.
I'm smiling and a little bit giggling because I'm thinking of two things. Number one, I'm in this new phase of life where I've reinvented myself, and I quickly realized and got advice. You can't say this is what you're going to be doing. It is what you're doing. You have to make your identity happen now.
Yes.
At the end of your podcasts, you ask your guests what the best advice they've ever received. And one thing my mom's always told me is put yourself around people who you're going to grow with.
Yes. Put yourself in a room of way more successful people than yourself.
Shout out, Mom. Shout out, Lorraine, lady with the purple hair.
Lorraine. We love Lorraine.
And that you've been sitting in the room for decades watching women at major milestones. From where you sit, what does a woman who is aging well actually feel like in a room? And I know that you were just in a room with 700 people.
I was 700 women. I just attended this event, which was amazing. And I do events. I know events. The speakers were unbelievable. That was the reason I went, was to really look at aging, because when you get into your 60s and even when you hit your 50s, like 50s didn't seem that big to me, but once you hit your 60s, it's a little crazy. And you change, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh my gosh, where did this come from? And everything changes. And your hormones, with a lot of that, you've got your hormones changing. But it's just inspiring to be around the people that are aging, but aging well and are confident about their aging. Now, some people get the facelift. That's great. Whatever works for you. I might do it one day. I don't know. It's just nice to learn about aging, and they're just talking more about your hormones and what you need to do, because your hormones are going to change and your body's going to change and you're going to gain weight and you can't sleep and you're going to have the night sweats and you're going to have all that. I was very lucky that I didn't have bad menopause at all. I was very lucky. I had night sweats for maybe a year and that was it. So I'm one of those, and I always slept well, and I still do. So I started the hormones about a year and a half ago. I was lifting weights and I just wanted to build muscle. And if you have no hormones, you can't build muscle. Also, it helps with your libido, which I'll take that. Depends on everybody has different symptoms. It depends on where you're at. Some are worse than others. Just being around it just made me feel better about it. Just seeing other women. There were women up to 89 years old. There was a panel from women in their 70s. They looked amazing. Only one of them had a facelift. You can't tell. But they were in great shape. She was lovely. She was dressed to the nines and the hair and the whole thing. She was lovely. They just inspired me to feel good about this and to take care of yourself and all the different things. There were so many great speakers.
Yeah, it's really important to put yourself in those rooms with people like that.
Yes.
So you've worked with clients maybe across multiple milestones over the year and watch them over their lifespan. What have you seen in terms of women growing into themselves? And have you ever seen women use a celebration or a milestone as a turning point where she shifts into a new identity or a moment where she stepped into a different version of herself?
I see that with all my friends because we're all about the same age. And it is interesting now. And since I've been going to this event, and I do listen to a lot of podcasts, even for yourself, you're coming from nursing and you're doing this whole thing, which is amazing. I'm super proud of you. I get it. Reinvent yourself. Yeah, but you're doing it. Every day is a step towards where you want to be. And it takes time. Everything takes time. I didn't grow this business overnight. I'm doing my coaching program and trying to grow. It's brand new. And I'm like, Jesus, how do I figure this thing out? Like, I just want to help these planners, but it's difficult. It's difficult to get them to buy your programs. It's a whole different set of clientele. I've had clients over the years who had a corporate job and then they decided, I'm going to do this coaching program and I'm going to do events. So they left their corporate job, whether it was for leadership. I had many clients like that. And those clients have also stopped doing events and evolved in a different way. So yes, I've had many women around me who have changed what they're doing or want to change. And it's hard. I'm very blessed that I was able to have the confidence to do it when I was younger. If I was trying to do it now at this age, I don't know. I want to keep doing events right now. I love what I do, but there are times when I think I love design. So maybe do an interior designing, but then I'd have to start over and start from scratch, but I could do it. I just don't know if I have a desire. I think I want to golf more. So I think I want to slow down.
I am sure you bring so much wisdom to your role that is a gift to your clients. I've been on the family side of this. What I know is how meaningful moments really can get swallowed by logistics and planning and execution. If you could give some feedback, what do you think most people need from you as the event planner that they don't often realize that they need?
There's so many things. We do corporate, nonprofit, social, which could be bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs. And we do weddings, destination weddings. There are so many things. We do multi-day events. We specialize in site selection and contract negotiations. That's a big piece of our job and our business, saving hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that they wouldn't know. Concessions and AV and Wi-Fi and service charges and food and beverage and room block and all of that stuff can be super expensive. It's insane. I'm so knowledgeable in all of that and I negotiate like crazy. So saving that. Also, the vendors that we have relationships with, right? So we save so much money for our clients on all the vendors that we know. When you go through a planner, you're going to save money just from all of our connections, just from our knowledge and our connections. If anything happens on site, which something always does.
Can I tell a story?
Yes, I can tell you a million stories.
I know.
Yes, I want to hear.
My daughter's wedding, which was almost exactly 2 years ago, was in Santa Barbara. As my kids say, the weather's always great in Santa Barbara. They pick an outdoor venue on the lawn of the courthouse, which is beautiful. It stormed the whole weekend. They had a wedding planner for the day of the event. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't even know where the wedding was going to be while we were on their way there. But the wedding planner was brilliant, and she set up the entire ceremony under an alcove. And it was just the most magnificently gorgeous romantic setting. It was basically raining when we got there. They did the ceremony under this alcove. Then, right as the ceremony's finished, the sun came out and there was a rainbow.
That's amazing.
That couldn't have happened without a wedding
You
planner.
have to have a planner. Honestly, we don't do day of because it's impossible just to show up the day of and figure it out. We very rarely do month of. I will consult along the way, the year's worth of consulting, come in the month before. That's if I know the family. Most of our weddings are from clients whose kids are getting married or the client themselves. I did a nonprofit 10 years ago, maybe more now, the Garrison Institute. And she was the executive director. And she always said to me, if I ever get married, I want you to plan my wedding. And sure enough, a couple years ago, 7 years had gone by and she was getting married. And I planned it in South Carolina, which was beautiful. It was outside and it was beautiful. We're best friends to this day. You make friends with your clients.
You have so many great stories.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The key to what we were talking about is just the experience that I have is I can think how to fix, right? If some crisis happens, I'm there to fix it. So we've never had an issue, knock on wood, where we didn't fix. You just come up with a solution. You just have to.
That's wonderful. I want to move to longevity. Research links longevity to connection, belonging, and purpose. You're really creating those conditions for all of that. Do you feel like you have an insight into connection that people might be missing, especially when those events are taking place, which are such important times in people's lives, the most important?
Yeah, it is pretty special, especially when we're doing nonprofits. It's such an amazing feeling raising funds for an organization that is doing great things. That just makes me feel so great. Listen, we are with these people for a year and we're planning this, and you're very much a part of the organization. We become part of their team. Yes, it's a very special thing. It's challenging because the emotions are high, especially with weddings. And we're very picky about who we work with weddings. So we've been very lucky. But yeah, it's amazing. Connection's everything. It's been difficult because of COVID. Obviously, my business shut down as all of that businesses did, and most of them did. But the connection's different now, right? I'm so glad that I had all those in-person connections for all those years that I did. I don't do it so much now because I don't have to, knock on wood, because my business is on word of mouth and I don't need to be networking as much as I used to. But I still keep in touch. I still have Zoom calls with people. I still like to network. Most of my networking is really on Zoom. The connection's a little bit different now. But I do miss the in-person stuff. But I also live half of the year in Florida, as you can see, and half of the year in New York and the summers in New Jersey. So I'm living all over the place. So it's hard to be connecting with people because my lifestyle is so different now. I was in New York all the time. It was different. My life has changed a little bit, which is good. It's so good. Sometimes when you own a business, you feel isolated. When I do feel like that, which is why I went to this event last week, I went for the purpose of connecting with other women of my age and what is everyone going through at this age. It really had nothing to do with business. They asked me what I did, but that was about it.
Yeah, you're talking about self-care, really. You did that for self-care because we know that connection is actually one of the most important things for well-being and longevity. And in your work, even though it has changed over the years, you're really working with people at the height of their emotions. There's hopes. I'm sure you have hundreds of stories about crises that happened. A little one I just said, which didn't even turn out bad. It was pretty wonderful. People are stressed out. They're emotional, happy, sad. You just gave an example of one thing you do to take care of yourself. What else do you do to take care of yourself in this highly stressful, emotional type of work?
Oh, yeah. I lift 4 days a week. I love it. I lift weights, which is great. It's super important to keep you strong because as we get older, we need to be strong. We need to be strong because when you fall and you're older, it's not a good thing. I enjoy it. I used to do it a lot when I was younger, and then I got into different workouts. I've always been working out my whole life, pretty much. I got back in about 4 years ago. Social media tells you everything, right? You have to be careful, but I can follow influencers and people that are doing this. I'm really into that just because I'm in my 60s. So I want to make sure that I take care of myself as I get older. I sleep 8 hours every night, pretty much, and try to drink a lot of water, which is hard to do, but I do try to do that. I eat well, so I follow macros. That's something I do is follow my macros. I pretty much have been doing that for years now. So I know I don't really need to weigh, but I do if I'm trying to make sure I'm on track, to make sure I'm eating the right amount of proteins, the right amount of fats, and the right amount of carbs according to what my body is. And I take HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Unfortunately, you and I talked about this earlier, but I have developed a blood clot in my leg this week. This happened. I traveled, as I said, I went to this event, and now I have a blood clot. So they've taken me off the HRT for the moment. And I was like, oh my God, what do you mean you're taking me off the HRT? I am lucky that I didn't need, it's not like it made me feel like, oh my God, I feel like $1 million. However, most women I know who take it said it changed their lives. They feel so amazing. I was lucky I didn't have that. I just checked my hormones because I was lifting weights and I thought if I'm building muscle, I need to have hormones to build muscle, to sculpt my body. And I had zero. They were estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, zero across the board. So I thought, all right, let me get these leveled out. I felt good. I didn't feel like much change. What did change was my libido, which yay for that, because that changes as you get older. And that never was an issue. So I was like, what the heck?
And we do not want to accept that, that's the way it is when you are getting older. No way.
No.
Not going to be my story.
And that's what doctors usually like to say is, oh, you're getting older. I think now, which is why I went to this event, was to really learn about hormone replacement and things like that. So I got the blood clot. It's very tiny. I feel so much better now. They did put me on blood thinners, and I'm seeing my doctor next week. I have to go to hematologist just to check my blood, but I'm aware of my body, right? I'm aware that something felt different. It wasn't a pulled muscle. It was 24 hours after I had traveled. It woke me up late in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m, excruciating pain. And I was like, this doesn't feel like a muscle, like something's off. It was underneath my right calf, like down below the calf. And I was like, what in the heck? So I went through the whole event. I danced, I wore heels, and I thought maybe that had to do with it because I don't wear heels a lot now, working from home and stuff. I traveled back 5.5 hours on the flight, and I played 9 holes of golf, which is crazy town to even think about. And then I woke up Monday morning this week and I said, I'm going to ER. I need to rule out that it's a blood clot. And why I thought that, it was the first thing I thought of when I got the pain because I never had one, so I had no idea. But my intuition told me something's off. And if you feel that way, you need to know your body. And that's the good thing about taking care of yourself and knowing aches and pains. And I've had many because I'm lifting and I'm doing things and I'm getting older. It just happens, but I'm really healthy considering. And sure enough, no one thought it was. Like the nurse even says, oh, you don't have any of the symptoms. It's just the pain. You don't have the heat. It's not swollen. It's not red. It's like, I know, so I don't know. And sure enough, the ultrasound, the doctor came in and said, you have a blood clot. And it's a good thing you came in. And I was like, are you shitting me? I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And he's, yeah. And so blood thinners. And then I had to immediately, I didn't know that HRT, the estrogen apparently can cause blood clots. There's other things now I'm learning. I've done lots of research and I have lots of people in my community who are well aware of this, even yourself. I can do other things and I'm going to meet with my doctor next week, but he did take me off it. And I got a little nervous, like going off because am I going to be hormonally crazy now? What's going to happen when I go off of this? But I'm fine. I'm walking. I can walk. I can't lift right now. So I can walk and I'm getting all my steps in, which is great. And I feel okay. I'm feeling much better. The pain is almost gone now, which is great. But just the point is paying attention. And then when I went in for the ultrasound, she didn't really go over the spot. And she was like, oh, I don't see anything. And I was like, you didn't go over the spot. Can you keep trying and look and make sure you're looking at the pain area? She did. And then she got a different lens and she checked out the lens that can look at small veins because I have small veins apparently. And it's tiny. The blood clot is tiny. And it was there. So had I not pushed her to do that, you have to be advocates for yourself. You even mentioned about blood tests and stuff. If you sense that something's off, just keep pushing till you ease your mind. Because had I left there, this could have been bad. It's dangerous. It's so dangerous. I'm so healthy. I can't even believe that I even thought it. I think my dad was up there. My dad had a life of history of blood clots. And I think he just passed a couple of years ago. And I think he was like Yeah, it was tough. It's tough.
Well, I'm glad you got that addressed. I have similar experiences. I've been a nurse for 40 years. It's crazy how much you have to advocate for yourself. It's almost getting worse right now,
Yeah.
especially as women, especially at this age. We're being dismissed a little bit less, but it's very challenging to find the information we need to keep ourselves healthy. It's hard to find good doctors. It's hard to
Yeah.
find doctors you trust. It's hard to get your doctors to talk to one another. That puts us in the role of coordinating, being our own case manager. And
Yeah.
you really have to be knowledgeable. You have to keep up on things. This is one of the areas I discuss and I address in this program that I have called Sexy in Your 60s Coaching Experience. A lot of women think they're healthy and they think they're doing all the right things, but they're not quite aware of other things that might be quietly going on in the background. If you didn't push on that, it could have just been quietly brewing until it became this crisis.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I'm a little freaked out. Like when he said it, when he told me I had it, I almost started crying because I couldn't believe that I actually felt that. And then I was right about it. It feels good to be right about it. Then I'm like, oh gosh, now I have to stop working out. And then I started feeling sorry for myself. Listen, it's okay. There's other solutions and I will continue doing what I need to do. And I feel good and I'm feeling much better. The pain is almost subsided. Because the pills, it loosens
Yes,
the
but I
blood.
want to just encourage that it's
Yeah.
important to check in with several different specialists because the specialists are
Yeah.
usually just looking in their lane. They're going to say, I'm not saying you should go back on the hormones, but that's not that person's priority. And
Correct.
you oftentimes have to check in with different specialists and be the connection between them to say, what are my options?
Yeah. I'm going to see a hematologist to check the blood and see what's going on. Could have been just from the hormones, and we're going to change that up. And I'm also going to my hormone doctor to just what that's about. And I'll listen to all of them. And I think I can, if I don't like what I'm hearing, or I don't believe what they're telling me, or I sense something different, I'll just keep researching and talking to people. My hormone doctor's really good and he's very knowledgeable. I'm in good shape there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
You're
yes,
also in good cities for health
I
care.
am. Yes. I am.
Annette, you mentioned the new role you've taken on as a coach to wedding and event planners now. And I want to ask you if you can talk about how you decided to step into that role. And what do you find that women in that space are often wrestling with behind the surface? You must see things that you can support them in that they don't necessarily see themselves.
Fear is the biggest thing. So when I mentioned this earlier, when I first started my business, I couldn't get a coach and I couldn't get anybody to help me. And I was in tears. Like I literally was in tears trying to figure it out. I always said at that time, when my business is going and things are going good and I feel that it's the right time, I'm going to start coaching. And that's exactly what I did. It was probably been 10 years now or more. Someone came to me and said, you know what? I want to start my business. Can you help me? I was like, okay, that must be the time. Here we go. I had been coaching with someone for about 5 years at that point. I knew how a coaching program worked because I was in one. I started coaching her. And then slowly but surely, I've been having a lot of one-on-one coaching. I've now created an online course and we're just about to launch. It's called Dream to Dollars Masterclass. I'm doing a masterclass and then it gets you into the course. It's the foundation of building your business. So it's setting it up, learning how to get clients, how to close a client. I do a whole video on how I go through the whole process of talking to the clients and trying to close the deal and then launching the business, like basically launching your business. Of course, there's so much more, but it's just the beginner part of setting up the foundation. And you asked about how they feel and what I see from them. It's fear of not being able to do it. Am I going to make money? Can I do this?
I'm there right now and the stage I'm at.
No. Yeah. Even by starting, I'm lucky enough. I have a business. I have my event business and I'm making money there, which is the reason why I can't put 100% or 1000% because you really have to put your whole heart and soul into a business when you start. It's hard to do that with my coaching business because I have the event business and that keeps me very busy, which I'm trying to slow down on that. The coaching is really what I love because I love to teach and I have so much to help. I love when I help somebody and they get a client and I can help them. It's so much fun. It's so great.
It really makes your professional life so much richer when you can take all this experience and knowledge and share it with other people and watch them grow and develop.
I know. But the tricky thing is I can sell an event fee for $50,000, but I can't get them to buy a $397 course. It's just a different kind of client. It's a different kind of mindset. They're just nervous, but most of them are working, right? So they already have a job. They have money coming in. And so they feel confident, which is how I started my business. I was working. I had money coming in too. The severance is a total different thing, but I had money coming in. I just didn't quit my job and started from scratch there. It takes time to do it. It's patience. It takes a long time, but you can do it. If I can do it, they just follow what I tell them to do. They're going to be successful. It's just, they have to do it. That's the thing.
Are you working with any women that are going into this later in life without experience? Or is it mostly people that have already made the decision to go into it?
It's dreams. They had a dream. That's why we call it Dreams to Dollars, because they all say, I've always dreamt of being an event planner or wedding planner. And it's so cute. And they think it's, oh, that sounds like so much. It is fun. It is great, but it's a lot of work and it is very stressful. Forbes came out in an article, the top 5 most stressful jobs in the world. And one of it was an event coordinator. It was one of the top 5. So there you go.
Going back to these ladies you're working with, do you feel like you can see that there's another version of herself that's trying to emerge, but it's held back by fear? She doesn't trust it yet. This is the world I'm in.
Most of them are like that.
And how do you support that woman?
I just talk about my path of getting here because, again, I started later in life. I started my business later in life, and it's just having the desire to want it. If you want it bad enough, if they are just like, oh, I don't know, it's not really my passion, then I tell them it's not for you then. Like, you really have to want it. I have a funny story. One of my clients I'm starting with coaching next month, she works for a nonprofit and she contacted me to help with their event, their gala that they were doing that was coming up. They decided to keep it in-house, and I guess she's the in-house person. But she contacted me like, I don't know, a couple months later and said, you mentioned when we were interviewing you that you also coach wedding and event planners. Will you coach me? I want to start my own business. You never know where you're going to get them.
Yeah.
So she just happens to be someone that was going to hire us for events. She was lovely and I knew she really liked me, but they decided to keep it in-house and not spend the money, but whatever. So
you have this potential
but now
connection.
so now she's coming in. And she has experience. She's working. She's still at the company, but she has confidence. When I'm interviewing, most people that come to me are ready, to be honest. They're not like tire kickers, and they're ready. And they also have experience. They've been working in corporate, or they planned all their friends' events, and everyone tells them that they should do that. Community that gave them, like, your value is, yes, you can do this. They've been told that. So there they are, but they want to learn. They probably follow me somewhere because I'm all over social media. I also have a Facebook group called Event Planner Society, where it's only wedding and event planners. So if you're interested in any of this, join us over there. But just see, it's knowing that they're going to get the help and they're not going to be alone. That's the thing. The support is everything. It's everything.
I love it. So if you're listening to this podcast or if you're watching it on YouTube, you are going to understand clearly why when I met Annette in this Zoom, that I was like, I got to have this one on my podcast because she is so vibrant and glowing and excited. It would be really easy for me to answer this question for you. What does sexy mean to you right now, Annette?
Honestly, it's confidence. I think someone who's confident is super sexy. People see it and people feel it the same way. So I'm going to say confidence. There's obviously the outside exterior things, but confidence is very sexy.
I love that. Thank you. And how can listeners get in touch with you and connect with you?
My name, Annette Naif, which is out there on the front there. Annette Naif, I'm all over social media. So come over. Event Planners Society is the Facebook group for wedding and event planners only. And there's about 3,000 of us in there, and they're learning and connecting, and it's a great community. So yeah, Annette Naif.
Great. Annette, thank you for sharing this rich conversation with me. What I appreciate most is that you helped us see that the moments we mark, whether they're public or private, grand or simple, are never really just about the event themselves, are they? They're
No.
about identity, belonging, courage, memory, and the way we step into new chapters of our lives, which I think you described beautifully.
Thanks.
I think so many women listening will recognize themselves in parts of your story, especially in the journey of trusting your own vision, owning your own value, and allowing yourself to keep evolving. And to everyone listening, I'll include Annette's links in the show notes so you can connect with her and learn more about her work. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Thank you. I love talking with you. Thank you.
If you're a woman 50 and above and you're doing a lot of the right things, but you still don't feel as strong and steady as you want to, I'm hosting a free live workshop called the 5-Minute Reality Check for women 50 and above. We'll look at the 4 areas that quietly drive energy and aging well: strength, fiber, sleep, and alcohol. And you'll leave with one simple next step that you can actually do right away. Join me on Thursday, April 30th at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Save your spot at slanttoplants.com/realitycheck. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If today's conversation resonated with you, I invite you to take the next gentle step by downloading the Sexy in Your 60s Starter Guide, a free resource designed to help you reflect on what supports your energy, vitality, and sense of connection in this season of life. You'll find it linked in the show notes or at slanttoplants.com/starter-guide. You can also explore more of my work, including health coaching, plant-forward nutrition, and resources for vibrant living at slanttoplants.com. And for the ultimate transformation, join the Sexy in Your 60s coaching experience at sexyinyour60s.com. If this episode spoke to you, please consider following the podcast, leaving a review, or sharing it with someone who might need it right now. That's how these conversations continue to grow. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay curious, and stay boldly, beautifully sexy, exactly as you are.